My name is Avery Collins. I'm 29 years old, and I was supposed to get married on September 15th. Supposed to. The kind of date that had lived on my calendar for over a year, circled in gold, starred, color-coded. The kind of date people rearranged their lives for. The kind of date I thought marked the beginning of forever. The wedding was planned down to the smallest detail. Venue booked, invitations mailed, honeymoon flights purchased, a coastal resort, non-refundable. Everything ready. Or so I thought. The rehearsal dinner was held at a small Italian restaurant tucked into a quiet corner of the city. Brick walls, candlelight, the kind of place that felt intimate and meaningful. We'd chosen it because it was where Richard and I had our third date, back when everything still felt intentional. About 40 people came, immediate family, close friends, the wedding party. Laughter bounced off the walls, wine glasses clinked. Stories were told about how Richard and I met, about how long it took him to propose, about how perfect we were together. I smiled when expected, nodded when appropriate. Richard looked good, relaxed, handsome in that effortless way that made people trust him instantly. He wore navy, his sleeves rolled just enough to seem casual. When people congratulated him, he laughed easily, like this was all just another fun milestone. I didn't notice the first crack right away. It happened during the second round of drinks. One of Richard's college friends, Lauren, started talking about how everyone in their circle had gotten engaged within the same year. Like dominoes, she said, laughing. One couple goes down, then suddenly everyone's engaged. A few people nodded. Someone joked about social pressure. Someone else mentioned timelines. Then Richard laughed. Not a small laugh, not nervous. A real one. Honestly, he said, waving his hand like he was brushing off something trivial. I only proposed because everyone else was getting married. The table went quiet. Not long, half a second, maybe less. Then laughter exploded. Like it was clever, like it was self-aware, like it was harmless. Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. The sound hit me physically, like someone had reached inside my chest and squeezed. I kept my face still. I didn't let my expression change. I even managed to smile, though it felt borrowed, like it belonged to someone else. Richard didn't look at me. He was too busy grinning at Lauren, soaking in the reaction, enjoying the moment like he hadn't just unraveled everything. I lifted my glass. My voice was calm, steady. Well, I said, then I guess tomorrow will be unforgettable. A few people raised their glasses back, not really listening. Someone echoed, unforgettable, with a laugh. Richard clinked his glass against mine without meeting my eyes, already turning away to continue the conversation. That was when something inside me went very quiet. Not numb. Clear. I sat through the rest of the dinner with a strange, detached calm. I watched Richard like I was seeing him for the first time. The way he laughed a little too easily. The way he accepted congratulations from my parents without hesitation. The way he posed for photos, arm around me, smile practiced and confident. My maid of honor leaned over at one point. You okay? She whispered. Just tired, I said. Big day tomorrow. She studied me, unconvinced, but let it go. Dinner wrapped around 10. People hugged. Promises were made about seeing each other tomorrow. Richard kissed my cheek, light and quick. See you at the altar, he said, smiling. Don't be late. Wouldn't miss it, I replied. He was staying at his parents' place that night. Tradition. Space. Superstition. I stayed in my car in the parking lot for nearly half an hour after everyone left. The restaurant lights dimmed. Chairs were stacked inside. A couple walked past me, laughing softly. I replayed his words again and again. I only proposed because everyone else was getting married. Not because he loved me. Not because he wanted a life with me. Because it was time. I told myself maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was a poorly timed joke. Maybe I was overreacting. But something about the way he'd said it, casual, amused, unafraid, wouldn't let me rest. When I got home, I didn't go to bed. I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I opened my laptop. Richard and I had agreed on transparency after a fight earlier in the year. Something about his ex-girlfriend liking his photos too often, the way he brushed it off like I was imagining things. He'd given me access then, said he had nothing to hide. I believed him. Now my fingers moved on their own. Social media, messages, archived chats, and then I found it, a group conversation. Richard and his college friends. I scrolled back to April, the month he proposed. Lauren, you did it. Lauren. She said yes? Richard, yeah. What else was I supposed to do? Everyone's getting married. Lauren, but do you actually love her? There was a pause, a timestamp, 3 dots. Richard, she's great, stable, makes sense. Lauren, that's not love. Richard, love is overrated. This is practical. My hands started to shake. I kept reading. Comments about wedding planning being annoying, about how his mom was thrilled because I had good prospects, about how he'd probably want to move back to his hometown someday, but he'd deal with that later. Later. There wasn't a single message about excitement, about wanting me, about choosing me. I closed the laptop and stared at the wall. By midnight, the sadness had hardened into something else. By 1 a.m., I picked up my phone, and I made a call. Tomorrow was going to be unforgettable, just not in the way anyone expected. I didn't sleep, not even for a minute. By the time the sky outside my bedroom window began to lighten from black to bruised gray, I was sitting at my kitchen table with a mug of untouched coffee, my laptop open, my phone vibrating endlessly beside it. 4:07 a.m. That was the exact moment something inside me settled, not into peace, but into resolve. There's a difference. Shock is loud, panic is frantic, grief sobs and begs. Resolve is silent. Resolve is the calm that comes when every illusion collapses at once and there's nothing left to protect. I opened my laptop again and reread the messages. Slowly this time, methodically, like evidence. I took screenshots. April, May, June. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Richard didn't talk about me the way people talk about someone they love. He talked about me like a sensible purchase, a good investment, something reliable. She's stable. She's good on paper. She'll be a good wife. Never I miss her. Never I can't wait. Never I love her. In one thread, someone joked, "At least you won't end up alone like your ex." Richard replied with a laughing emoji. That one hurt more than the rest. Because his ex-girlfriend, Marissa, had always been the ghost in the room. The name he avoided. The story he summarized too quickly. The chapter he insisted was closed, but never really explained. And now here it was, confirmation that I hadn't been chosen. I'd been selected. At 4:30 a.m., I started canceling things. The honeymoon flights were first. Non-refundable, but I didn't care. The confirmation email hit my inbox with a dull finality. Then the hotel. Then I called the venue. They had a 24-hour emergency line. I remember thinking it was ironic. How many weddings fell apart quietly in the dark hours before morning? The venue manager sounded confused, half asleep. "I need to make a change to the ceremony setup," I said. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. "It's important." There was a pause. "Ms. Collins, the ceremony is in 6 hours." "I know." Another pause. "Are you absolutely sure?" "Yes," I said. "I've never been more sure of anything." By 6:45 a.m., everything was in motion. At 7 a.m. sharp, Lena, my best friend since college, pulled into the venue parking lot. She looked worried the moment she saw my face. "Avery," she said as she got out of her car, scanning me. "What's going on? You scared me last night." "I need you to see something," I said before I explained. We sat in the empty garden space where the ceremony would take place. The chairs were arranged in perfect rows, white flowers everywhere. Soft fabric draped over the arch where Richard was supposed to stand. I handed her my phone. She read in silence. Her expression changed with every swipe, from confusion to disbelief to fury. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Avery, he actually wrote this?" "Yes." "He said yes because everyone else was getting married?" Her voice cracked. "He told people that?" "He told 40 people last night," I said quietly, and he laughed. Lena looked up at me. "What are you going to do?" I took a breath. "I'm not getting married today." Her eyes widened. Okay, that makes sense. We can cancel everything, make an announcement." "No," I said gently. "I'm not canceling quietly." She froze. "What do you mean?" I gestured toward the front of the venue. "See that arch?" I said. "That's not what's going to be there." Lena followed my gaze. "What's going to be there, Avery?" "The truth." She stared at me for a long moment. "You're serious?" "I am." "That's brutal," she said slowly. I nodded. So was what he did. The venue staff had already finished the change I requested. Where the floral arch once stood, there was now a large projection screen, tastefully framed, impossible to ignore. I connected my laptop and opened the file. Screenshots, dates, times, messages laid out in chronological order. No commentary, no editing, no spin. Just his words. "This is what he'll see," I said, "instead of me." Lena swallowed. "There's no coming back from this." "I know." The ceremony was scheduled for 11. At 10:45, guests began to arrive. I wasn't there to greet them. I was standing in the small office behind the garden, watching through the glass. My parents arrived first, scanning the space, clearly confused by my absence. My mother checked her watch. My father frowned. Then Richard's parents arrived, smiling, relaxed, proud. At 10:58, the music started. At exactly 11, Richard walked in. He looked confident. Tailored suit, easy smile. The man who thought everything was going according to plan. He took a few steps forward, expecting to see me at the altar. Instead, he saw the screen. His pace slowed. Confusion crossed his face, then recognition, then panic. The first message filled the screen. I only proposed because everyone else was getting married. His face drained of color. Whispers rippled through the guests as they started reading. Phones came out. Murmurs grew louder. Richard turned, searching the crowd. "Avery," he called, his voice thin. "What is this?" I stepped out from this office at the back of the venue. The moment he saw me, relief flickered across his face. "Thank God," he said under his breath. "You need to stop this." I walked down the aisle slowly. Every step felt deliberate, controlled. "This," I said when I stopped a few feet away, "is unforgettable." He shook his head. "You can't do this. Not like this." "You made a joke about our engagement last night," I said calmly. "In front of 40 people. You thought it was funny." That was taken out of context. "So, are these messages?" I asked, gesturing to the screen. He didn't answer. His mother stood up. "Avery, this is inappropriate." I met her gaze. "Did you know your son thinks love is overrated? That he proposed to me because it was practical?" Richard's voice cracked. I was venting. Everyone vents. "These are months of messages," I said. "Not a moment." Tears filled his eyes. "Please," he said, stepping toward me. "Let's talk privately." "You already talked publicly," I replied. "Last night. I'm just finishing the conversation." Lena appeared at my side. "Venue manager says we need to wrap this up." I nodded. I looked at Richard one last time. "I hope someday," I said quietly, "you marry someone you actually want, not someone who just fits." Then I turned around and walked away. Behind me, everything erupted. Gasp, shouting, crying. But I didn't look back. I didn't hear the shouting until we were already halfway down the gravel path. The garden doors slammed open behind us, voices spilling into the air like a storm that had finally broken. Someone was crying, loud, unrestrained. Someone else was yelling my name. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because if I did, I knew I'd hesitate. Lena's hand tightened around my wrist as she pulled me toward the parking lot. "Don't stop," she murmured. "Just keep walking." So I did. My legs felt oddly light, like they weren't entirely mine. The adrenaline hadn't worn off yet. It hummed through me, steady and sharp, keeping the world narrow and manageable. We got into her car. She locked the doors immediately, like she expected someone to chase us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she exhaled, long and shaky. "Holy hell!" I stared straight ahead. "I didn't plan to cry," I said. "I thought I would." "You still might," she replied softly. "Just later." As we drove away, my phone started buzzing. Once, twice, again and again. "Richard." I turned it face down. "Where do you want to go?" Lena asked. "Anywhere," I said, "just not home." We ended up at her apartment. I collapsed onto her couch in my dress, the white fabric suddenly feeling absurd, like a costume from a life I'd stepped out of. That was when the shock wore off. The crying came fast and hard, like my body had been waiting for permission. I cried into my hands, into Lena's shoulder, into the quiet space where my future had been. "I didn't want it to be like this," I sobbed. "I wanted him to want me." "I know," she whispered. "I know." The fallout didn't wait. By the afternoon, my name was everywhere. Group chats exploded. Distant relatives called. Friends texted in disbelief. Someone sent me a screenshot from social media, an out-of-context photo of the projection screen already making the rounds. Wedding disaster. Bride exposes groom at altar. Unforgettable indeed. I turned my phone off. For 3 days, I stayed at Lena's place. I slept when I could, ate when reminded, watched mindless TV until the hours blurred together. On the 4th day, I turned my phone back on. 312 notifications. I ignored most of them. I read the messages from my parents first. "My mom, I wish you'd come to us before doing this publicly, but I understand why you did. You deserve better." My dad, "That took courage. I'm proud of you, even if I wish it hadn't come to this." Then my sister, "Are you okay? Everyone is talking about this. Richard's mom called mom screaming about lawsuits. What happened?" I called her. She listened in silence as I explained everything. The rehearsal dinner, the messages, the decision I made in the early hours of the morning. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. "Wow. Do you think I went too far?" I asked. There was a pause. "Honestly, I don't know. Part of me thinks you could have walked away quietly, But another part of me thinks, he embarrassed you publicly first. You just showed people the truth. That night, I replayed the moment he saw the screen. His face. The way his certainty collapsed in real time. Guilt crept in, soft but persistent. But it didn't last. Relief followed close behind. Relief that I hadn't married someone who didn't choose me. Relief that I'd found out before vows and legal ties made everything harder to escape. A week later, Richard's family threatened legal action, emotional distress, defamation. My lawyer laughed when I showed her the screenshots. Truth is an absolute defense, she said. He wrote those messages. You displayed them. They've got nothing. The threats disappeared after that. 2 weeks after the wedding, that wasn't. Richard showed up at my apartment. I'd moved back in by then. The place felt different, quieter, lighter. He was waiting in the lobby when I came home from work. Avery, he said softly, please, can we talk? I considered walking past him. 5 minutes, I said. We sat on a bench outside the building. He looked terrible, thinner, dark circles under his eyes. The confidence that used to cling to him was gone. I'm so sorry, he said, for everything. I nodded. Okay. That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Richard? I asked. That it's fine? That we can fix it? He hesitated. I've been in therapy, trying to understand why I thought the way I did. I think I was scared of choosing wrong, of commitment. So I told myself it was practical instead of emotional. Were you ever in love with me? I asked. He didn't answer right away. That pause told me everything. I cared about you, he said finally. I liked being with you. But you didn't love me. I don't know, he whispered. I stood up. That's my answer, I said. He started crying. I didn't comfort him. I believe you're sorry, I said. But sorry doesn't change the fact that you were ready to marry me without actually wanting to. So this is it, he asked. It's been it since the moment you laughed, I said. He nodded, defeated. For what it's worth, he said, standing, you deserve better than what I gave you. I know, I replied. He walked away. I never saw him again. 3 months passed. Not slowly, not quickly, just steadily. The kind of time that doesn't announce itself while it's happening, but leaves evidence behind when you look back. The apartment doesn't feel empty anymore. At first, the quiet was unnerving. Every sound echoed. Every evening felt too long. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to text Richard about something mundane, a new restaurant opening, a stupid meme. Then remember there was no one on the other end anymore. Now the quiet feels intentional, peaceful, like breathing without holding tension in my shoulders. I heard through mutual friends that Richard moved back to his hometown. He's working with his dad now, dating someone he went to high school with. Apparently things are simple with her. Good. I hope he's honest with her. The wedding would have cost about $40,000. I lost roughly 20% of that in deposits. Worth it. Some people still think I went too far. They say I should have canceled privately, that I didn't need to humiliate him, that 2 wrongs don't make a right. I've thought about that, more than once. But here's the part they forget. He humiliated me first. He laughed about our engagement in front of 40 people. He made our relationship a punchline before I ever turned it into a headline. The screen didn't lie. It just removed the performance. Lena asked me last week if I'd do it differently, knowing what I know now. Maybe, I admitted. Maybe I would have confronted him privately first. She raised an eyebrow. But then again, I said, maybe I wouldn't. Because he spent months lying to me. Not by omission, but by intention. He was ready to stand at an altar and promise a life he didn't emotionally want. That kind of truth deserves light. I started therapy after everything. My therapist says I'm processing things in a healthy way, that I'm allowed to be angry, allowed to feel betrayed, allowed to choose myself loudly if that's what it took to hear my own voice again. What are you supposed to learn from this? She asked once. I thought about it. That I deserve someone who chooses me enthusiastically, I said. Not practically, not conveniently, not because everyone else is doing it. She smiled. Exactly. I'm not seeing anyone yet. Trust takes time now, and that's okay. There's no rush, no imaginary timeline, no pressure to keep up. The irony isn't lost on me, that Richard complained about peer pressure in marriage while proposing to me because of peer pressure. Life has a sense of humor like that. My mom asked me recently if I regret anything. I thought about it honestly before answering. I regret not finding the messages sooner, I said. Everything else, no. She laughed softly. That's either very mature or very traumatized. Probably both, I said. She hugged me. You're going to be okay. She was right. I am okay. More than okay. I'm free from being someone's checkbox, someone's sensible option, someone's safe bet. The wedding was supposed to be unforgettable. Mission accomplished.